guys, how's it going? It's Heather. In today's video we will be discussing banned books. As every reader knows, this week is banned books week. Banned books are mainly books that parents or even religious people have asked to be banned from schools and libraries. Now this can be high schools, middle schools, or even elementary schools. So if you didn't know, there's actually an organization that tracks banned books. It is the Office for Intellectual Freedom, and they track the banned books all throughout the country, and they track these banned books. They don't really track them that well because they go off of media. But however, since 1990, there have been over 11,000 separate instances of books attempting to be banned. That is a lot. The main reason that some of these parents and religious people ban the books is either because of profanity, sexual content, or, religious aspects that are portrayed in a bad way. Now, not every book that has been banned is banned across the United States. Some schools will ban them, some certain libraries, but some of these banned books are actually still present in other libraries today. In this video, I'm just going to be showing examples of banned books across the country and even some that might be overseas. So of course, number one will be the obvious one, the Harry Potter series. Now, not just the first book was banned, the entire series is banned in some states. It is banned from school libraries because religious parents believe it glorifies witchcraft. This is mainly the only reason that Harry Potter is banned from the classroom, because of the witchcraft, and it goes the same for the movies. Some families will not allow their children to watch the movies or even read the books because of the witchcraft. Another series that is famously banned from classrooms and libraries is the Hunger Games series. Most parents believe that this series is anti-ethnic, anti-family. They believe that there is an insensitivity chip in the book. Some religious families believe it's satanic, there's violence, language, and the majority of the families believe it's unsuited for the age group. I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think it's really as bad as some other books that are labeled for certain age groups. Another book that is banned from classrooms is To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, I read To Kill a Mockingbird in high school and I actually really loved the book. I loved it so much that I read the sequel. It's pretty obvious why To Kill a Mockingbird is banned from classrooms. There's racial content, there is some profanity, and there's even references of rape. The main character is a little girl, so it's obvious why parents would want to be banned from classrooms because of what is said in the book. But this is one of the books that I think is a very good learning experience to keep in schools. Another famous YA book that was banned from classrooms is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. So we pretty much know why The Perks of Being a Wallflower would be banned from schools. There is profanity, there is sexual content, drinking, drugs, there's homosexuality, there's date rape, there's abuse. There's so much packed into this tiny little book that's obvious why parents would want to ban it from schools. However, this is one of those books where it can be a learning experience of what really happens in reality, and it's another example where you can't really turn off reality for no matter what age group they're in. Another popular book that was banned from some schools and libraries is The Giver. So let's just go ahead and say that The Giver, the book, and The Giver, the movie, is a lot different. The number one thing is the age of the main character. In the book, the age of the main character is a lot younger, but then in the movie, the age is about teenager-ish. The book was banned because of violence and people felt it was unsuited for the age group. Now that I can see where they're coming from, because I did find it kind of odd when I was reading it in middle school that the main character was such a young age and all these things were happening to him. And it also kind of confused me too how they made the main character in the film a lot older. I guess they wanted to appeal to the YA audience more. Another book that was actually banned from a few libraries and schools is Eleanor Park. This one wasn't banned too much really, but one parent did believe that it should be banned because of profanity and sexual language. There were also instances of the Lord's name in vain and the F word. I don't think it got totally banned, but it did cause a little bit of controversy. I remember reading this book a couple years ago and I thought it was really good, but I don't see why it had to be banned unless the parent was really protective of her child, which I guess that's the reason why parents try and ban books anyway, because they want to protect their children from the dangers of reality out there. Another book that was banned from libraries was Looking for Alaska by John Green. Now, we all know that John Green's books definitely deal with heavy stuff, and Looking for Alaska was mostly banned because of offensive language and there was sexually explicit content. I, for one, had not read Looking for Alaska, at least not yet, so I can't really say anything about it, but this is not the first book of John Green's that has been banned from schools and libraries. I'm not 100% sure if it actually did get banned. It probably is permanently banned from some places. I know most of these books were just temporarily banned. Another book that was banned was actually a favorite of mine. It's The Witches. Now, we know the author. He wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We've seen the films. We know he kind of puts in crazy elements. This book is mainly directed for children, and I for one can really see why some parents would want to ban the witches from schools and libraries. I've seen the film, it's very creepy, and it's been a long time since I read the novel, but I'm pretty sure that was creepy too. However, this book was banned mainly in England because they believed it represented misogyny. However, it was mostly feminists that were trying to ban the book because when it came out in 1983, it was the second wave of feminism. It was just blown out of proportion because it depicted that only evil resided in females, and also other people wanted to ban it because it portrayed a mistrust of adults. I haven't really heard of it being banned anywhere else, but I wouldn't be surprised if other schools wanted to ban it just because it's kind of scary and it might be too much for the age group. Regardless of the crazy instances that happen in the book and the film, I think it's very fantastic. Another obvious book that was banned most recently actually was 13 Reasons Why. Now, it doesn't take someone without common sense to realize why this book was banned, especially with the Netflix series that came out this past year. 13 Reasons Why was banned and totally misconstrued everywhere because people believed it romanticized suicide. I can see where people get that. I've seen the series, I've read the book. Honestly, this is one of the things where I think it was blown out of proportion, and parents do not want their kids to know about this part of the world. This stuff can actually happen in reality. You can't just turn it off. This isn't trying to tell them a lie like, oh, Santa Claus exists. 13 Reasons Why, the elements that are inside this book can actually happen in real life. To this day, I find it problematic in itself that this book and the TV show is so put down because of what happened. For instance, when the show came out on Netflix, people were so surprised at what was going on. And I was just thinking in my head, have you not read the book? Did you not know that this was based on a book? And honestly, the book is just as graphic as the show. We are in a world now where we need to know more about what happens in reality. There are news articles almost every day talking about kids that actually commit suicide because of bullying. This is not something that we should keep quiet to our children. It's something that needs to be discussed and continue to be discussed all over. Another book that was attempted to be banned was The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. And I really shouldn't be surprised that someone tried to ban it because parents complained about the morbid plot, they complained about the language and the sexual content, but I think mainly it was about the plot itself because we have two teenagers that are sick, they're gonna die, and they fall in love, and the ending of the book is supposed to depict like this sort of kind of happy ending, like a happy resolution. I don't think the ban was successful. If it was probably temporary, but it really doesn't surprise me that much because the plot is kind of morbid, but it's also a really good book and it's beautiful. The next book that was banned in certain places is Al Capone Does My Shirts. Now this is a chapter book. It's meant for grade school, like elementary school or middle school, and I did read this when I was in grade school and I thought it was very interesting, but apparently some people want it banned because it portrays a negative stereotype and tries to promote the infamous gangster Al Capone, and I guess some parents don't really like that for the age group and for their children reading it. I barely remember much about the book itself, but I know Al Capone was an infamous gangster, and I guess that's maybe not appropriate for children. I don't know. I haven't read the book in years, so I really don't have much of an opinion about this. I just found it really interesting because I read it in grade school and actually kind of liked it, I suppose. The next book is actually one of my favorites that I read in high school, Of Mice and Men. Now, if you have not read Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, then you will not find it obvious why this book was trying to be banned. There is profanity, there's violence, and there's racism. I mean, at the end of the book, spoiler alert, there's even a death. So I can see why they want it to be banned, but this book is mainly for kids in the high school, so really it's better to read this kind of book in high school than in middle school. I think it's just one of those books that you have to read in high school to get an understanding of certain things, and it's like considered one of those classics. Another book that was trying to be banned was Bridge to Terabithia. Now, we've all seen the film, how adorable it was, how heartbreaking it was. I haven't read the book, I've only seen the film, but apparently religious families were trying to get it banned because apparently it has witchcraft, it's got atheism, and it's got profanity. In my school, we didn't have to read it. It was on the shelf in the library, but this is the first I've heard of it attempting to be banned. I do know that the film Some people were a little bit hesitant about it, of what happens in the film, because of the little girl that dies. So I guess I can see the connection of why parents would want to ban it from schools and libraries. So the next book that was banned from schools and libraries was Crank. I, for one, have not read Crank. I have seen a cover, I flipped through it and found it kind of odd looking, but it does strike my interest a lot. But Crank was banned from schools and libraries because it features drugs, sex, rape, unwanted pregnancy, and I guess some parents found that to be problematic. Again, it's another one of those novels where it depicts real life instances that can happen, and parents just want to steer their children away from that. Another series that was banned in certain places is actually Lord of the Rings. So we can take a wild guess on why Lord of the Rings was a banned book. It is supposed to be anti-religious, there's witchcraft. There was a mention of the fact that in the film there's smoking, so parents wanted that to be banned. But there's not much about this book on why it was banned, just that some people found it to be anti-religious witchcraft, kind of like Harry Potter. But I've not heard of it being banned anywhere else, so I don't think it's supposed to be that bad. The next book is a book that I actually read in high school. It is Speak. Now, I don't know who probably hasn't read Speak or even seen the movie with Kristen Stewart back in 2004, but Speak is a very, very deep book. You can kind of compare it to 13 Reasons Why, just without the suicide, I guess. Speak, we have the main character. She goes to a party and she actually gets raped, and the next school year she's completely silent because she has been mortified and just scarred by the entire experience. So some parents want it to be banned because, you know, there is profanity, there's drinking, there is the sex and the rape. And for some reason, some people consider this to be banned because it portrays soft pornography. And I'm not sure how, because I mean, there's just flashbacks of the rape scene itself. So that's kind of up in the air. I'll just leave it at that. Ah, yes. The next one we've all heard of, we've seen it, we've read it. Twilight. Some libraries actually tried to ban Twilight. Some parents actually tried to ban the Twilight series, especially some religious families and even some churches. They believe that, you know, this series is demonic, I guess because of the vampires. That's pretty obvious first reason why they would want this to be banned. And of course, they found the series to be extremely sexual, which, you know, I guess. It's been years since I finished the last book, so I don't really know if the sex scene is as intimate as the film made it to be, but I'm not surprised that people tried to ban Twilight because of the vampires. I can see why they'd say it's too sexual. I guess there is sexual tension in the books itself, but clearly it didn't really work. Let's just think back on the last, I don't know, decade. Now, the last book I'm featuring is actually really interesting because it wasn't banned in schools or libraries. It was actually banned in a prison for a temporary amount of time. Yes, the last book on the list is Game of Thrones, the very first book. Until recently, Game of Thrones was banned in a prison because of safety and security reasons, which was kind of interesting because they did have the second and third book. So I feel bad for the prisoners that read the second and third book, but they didn't get to read the first book. Imagine how confusing that would be. But now, as far as I know, it is not banned anymore, so they can read it. So these prisoners will probably have the joy of rereading the books that are available now. The article I found this on did say that A Dance of Dragons was still banned at the prison, but as far as I know, I don't know if it's still banned or not, because A Dance of Dragons did come out almost 10 years ago, I believe. I miss Game of Thrones. Anyway, that is just a short list of the banned books. I found so many more. It's on a full Wikipedia page of banned books and reasons why. So you can take a look at that, get yourself informed. I just want to say that I'm not trying to promote these books. I'm just explaining the reasoning why they're banned and stating my opinions about them myself. I'm not trying to inflict any kind of intellectual harm on families and their reasonings for banning these books or films from their children. That is their family, that is their choice, they can do what they want. The week is not done yet, so Banned Books Week is still going on. You can get informed at your library, you can get informed on the internet. Do what you can, and remember that banning books is restricting freedom on speech and your intellectual mind. Banning books prohibits children and teenagers alike from learning what happens in reality. Even when you look at the Harry Potter series or any other fantasy series that was banned, the aspects that happen in the book, like the political aspects or anything else that happens that can happen in the real world, it can happen. So banning these books is just restricting everything that anyone should know about reality. It is restricting your mind. There is nothing wrong with learning more about what goes on in the world. There's nothing wrong with entering another world and learning about your own. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy Banned Books Week, and follow me on social media, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.